Hello. Hi. Sorry, this is nuts. Anyone got a question?
Where's Ray?
What was that?
Why did you kill Ray? Yes, we want to know.
Exactly, you had to.
Thanks for being patient, everybody.
No problem.
Is this you?
Yeah, that's you. Although that's you, in fact. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We're just waiting on Guy and Robert to come down from upstairs where they're doing press and photos, but really pleased that David just bounded down of his own accord and thrilled to have him here in the house this evening.
Yeah, see, I just wanted a little bit of me time before these guys.
We haven't seen each other for a couple of months, so this is when we meet on stages in front of people.
Which is precisely the place to be.
Absolutely.
Now, I think the people sitting here need very little introduction from me, and you've also just had the privilege of seeing the fantastic film, The Rover. We're really thrilled to have David, Robert and Guy here tonight to talk about the film. I'm going to start, David, by asking you something about the background of the development of the film. Given I understand it came from a script that you were working before you actually made Animal Kingdom. And for me, I think it's a really terrific, powerful and very tense kind of Western that has little nods here and there to films like Mad Max and, of course, the wonderful Australian classic Wake in Fright that we had the great privilege of presenting the restoration print here a few months back. But it also creates its very own distinct universe and one that has its own kind of quite coherent logic. So what prompted this particular story, and can you tell us about how you developed it?
Yeah, I wrote the first draft of it before I made Animal Kingdom. Originally, Joel Edgerton and I were in LA, and we were just kind of, I was just bored and frightened. I'm sure Joel had some things to do, but and we just started throwing around ideas for a movie that we thought maybe his brother Nash would direct, and because Nash, being a stuntman and a great practitioner of action cinema, we thought we'd be writing a sort of action movie in the desert type thing with cars, and I went away to write a first draft, and then almost immediately started writing a David Michod movie rather than a Nash Edgerton movie, which doesn't have any. My one doesn't have any car chases in it except for that one at the beginning. It's like I literally started writing a Nash movie and then went, oh, fuck it. Yeah, and then I went and made Animal Kingdom, spent a fair bit of time trying to work out what to do next. Just looking at suddenly my life turned upside down. I was just looking at what, the landscape, what my new landscape was like, but always had in the back of my head the idea, I really wanted to do this one. I wanted to do this one because Animal Kingdom was kind of a big, dense, sprawling sort of tapestry of characters, and rather than try and do something like that or even bigger than that, I decided that I loved the idea of this. It would allow me the opportunity to play in a tonal world that wasn't dissimilar to Animal Kingdom's, just kind of darkness and menace and tension and sadness. But that would operate very differently on a formal level, something really lean and elemental and almost like a kind of dark, violent fable. just a tiny number of characters in a vast empty landscape. End sentence.
Can I ask both Guy and Robert, Guy, you have a long history, I think, of working with real risk-taking, visionary directors like John Hillcoat, Catherine Bigelow, Chris Nolan, and Robert, this is something I think we're seeing beginning to develop too in your career, 2 films now with David Cronenberg and upcoming projects with Herzog and also Anton Corbijn. Can I ask both of you to talk a little bit about the importance, I guess, of that relationship with a visionary director and how you forged that, and also what attracted each of you to this particular film?
Well, it's a great question, because ultimately I think as an actor you realise once you start working that so much of, you have all the ideas about what you want to do, and you have sort of versions of the character that you want to play, and you really want to feel safe and secure and inspired by your director, and really just by the experience that you're having on set. And it sort of occurred to me after a number of films that if you don't get that, you're sort of at a loss, and you're kind of fighting. You're fighting to sort of have your say, and you're fighting to be interesting, unique, individual. You're just fighting to kind of have your voice heard, I suppose. And then you get lucky and you work with Curtis Hanson, or you work with Chris Nolan, or Tom Hooper, or John Hillcoat, or David Michod. And you start to realise that the inspiration and the excitement about everything that you find within yourself regarding what you have to offer can be supported, and not only supported but encouraged, and sort of with sort of great enthusiasm by great directors. And not to suggest that I can only work with great directors,